What up, YouTube? So, as you guys may or may not know, I'm a proud owner of a 2017 SeaDoo GTR 230, and it's been a fun vessel. It's 3 years old now, so it's out of warranty. One thing that about these supercharged SeaDoos is that they're real picky on the fuel, and the only problems I've had with this thing is the fuel, and that's like an endless struggle of trying to keep stable in the fuel and putting fresh fuel in it, make sure the fuel's fresh. And I had a really bad situation, I guess, where I went to the local Sunoco to get fuel, thinking that, oh, they sell the highest octane fuel at Sunoco, and the Sunoco was a little ghetto-y. So I filled it completely up with high octane fuel and took it out on the lake. By the time I went down the canal, got out on the lake, it was hesitating real bad. So I pulled it back in, and I ended up draining all the fuel out of the tank, and I used that fuel in my truck, and my truck ran fine on it. But it's just, I think that Sunoco, since it was kind of like a ghetto-y Sunoco, I think they had bad fuel in their tanks. And my credit card got stolen at a Sunoco, and they tore the Sunoco down now. So I think that Sunoco was on its last leg. But ever since then, just when I take it out, it'll have bad hesitation. So one thing that did fix the problem is I did put in some fuel injector cleaner from Lucas, and with combination of fresh gas. I've been trying to put fresh gas in it or put stable in the gas, and last time I put that fuel injector cleaner in with the gas, it cleared out the problem and it worked fine. But you know, ever since that Sunoco incident, every time you start it up, it idles rough and what have you. So I did. Oh yeah, before I move on, I did go and check the spark plugs. I pulled the spark plugs out. One interesting thing, spark plugs look perfectly fine. One interesting thing I noticed is there was oil in the little spark plug well, and I checked my valve cover, and my valve cover was loose. So if you have one of these, I highly recommend you go and check your valve cover, because mine worked its way a little loose. Just using it. So spark plugs are fine. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and clean out the fuel injectors and inspect them, because I suspect the problem is with the fuel injectors, because of the fact that if it hesitates, once I get it up to the high RPM, it goes fine, and it'll keep on going around the whole lake. So I think it's a problem with dirty fuel injectors. The reason I'm not checking the fuel filter, which is kind of the last thing I need to check, is because currently I have 10 gallons of gas in it, and I don't want to go and try to pull that fuel pump up to check that fuel filter with 10 gallons of gas in it. But the good part about that is you can literally, in this thing, drain 10 gallons of gas out within an hour. Guaranteed. Less than an hour, you can drain 10 gallons of gas out. And it's funny, when I first bought this and I posted the YouTube video of it, a lot of people was asking me about the gas consumption. And I was thinking to myself, why were they asking me about that? But yeah, these supercharged SeaDoos are not good on gas consumption. So anyway, I rambled on enough, and this video, I'm going to go and experiment taking the fuel rail out, the fuel injectors out. Disclaimer, I haven't done this before, and I'm just winging it, but it looks pretty simple. So let's dive in there. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is cut these neatly wrapped tie wraps for the wiring harness that's secured to the fuel rail. So the thing is, when I was Google searching it, problems with this, you know, on other models, people have complained and made note that the SeaDoos are picky about their fuel. But really, there's not a lot of information on these new SeaDoos. So I don't know if that's because of people are not having problems with them, or there just seems to be lack of information on this model. Okay. So now we gotta disconnect the fuel line. Let me get some towels. Now, I could crawl under the front and disconnect the fuel pump and turn it on and trying to drain pressure out of it, but it hasn't ran for a week, so I'm hoping that it's not going to be too dirty. Now the theory is, I think if you push sideways on this, it should pop right out. Okay, it is leaking a little fuel out. Oh. Okay, that was a little more fuel than I was anticipating, but it wasn't that bad, I guess. And let me just wrap this around this inlet. Now, I do highly recommend oiling down your engine with, I use fluid film. And what made me think about that is all this gas is going to strip down the oil, but I'll clean that all out. Okay, so now we're ready to take the fuel rail out. It should be 2 E-Torques. I also highly recommend that if you own one of these jet skis, to buy a E-Torque socket set, because pretty much everything is E-Torques. So I bought this E-Torque socket set on Amazon. It wasn't that expensive, but so that's a E. Oh yeah, by the way, in case you don't know, E-Torques just means external torques, and it's an E8. So well, these didn't vibrate loose. Okay, is this washer going to stay on the fuel rail? It is for now, until I move the fuel rail, and then the washer will fall off. So almost guaranteed. Actually, it's a casing, so it is going to stay on there. Okay, so now the fuel rail should pop out. Make sure nothing else is holding me up. Oh. Okay. And now we need to just undo all the connectors to the fuel injectors. One, two, and three. And the fuel rail is off. So here is the fuel rail with the fuel injectors on the bench. Now, one thing that led me to believe that it is a fuel injector problem is that there is a company out there that claims, send us your SeaDoo fuel injectors and we'll clean them. And I just kind of thought to myself, if someone was advertising that, that must be a problem. But unfortunately for me, they look clean. There is a little bit of crud on the sides of them. So I don't know if you can see that. Let me zoom in some. On the sides of them, there's a little bit of black crud, but really they look clean. I guess the next part would be to pull the actual injectors off the rail and see what the back sides look like. Hopefully you can hear me all right. I got a new mic system, but my neighbor has decided to run his generator, which I guess he's doing that because we were supposed to have a storm, but I haven't really watched the news at all, so I don't know what the status of that storm is. And I probably should have been wearing gloves, but it's already too late. My hands already smell like gas, so. Let me get a light. You know what? There is a little bit of gunk down in there. Believe it or not. Yeah, there's gunk down in there too. They're not perfectly clean. Yep, every single one of them has gunk down in there. Let me see if I can get you to see that. Maybe you can see it. But there's a little gunk down each one. Now, a lot of people online, let me wipe out the insides here. Let me make sure I get a clean towel and see if anything's coming out of the fuel rail. Now, a lot of people online, they actually activate the fuel injectors, and I guess I should keep them in order, although it doesn't probably matter. A lot of people online, they activate the fuel injectors with the battery running cleaner through them. But I'm not going to be that fancy. I'm just going to try to spray down in there and see if they clean up. So I think what I'm going to do is just fill them up and let them sit a little bit. Okay, I got some Q-tips. Hopefully I don't end up jamming cotton down in there. But you just kind of turn them sideways a little bit. And Work it down in there some. Let me just kind of look down in there, see if that cleaned it up some. Now this black stuff on the outside might actually just be from, you know, carbon. I'm sure someone in the comments are probably ridiculing me from doing it this way. But I promised I would show you to take the fuel rail off your SeaDoo, and that's what this video has done. And another interesting note is it looks like they put dielectric grease on the terminals for the coil power. So let me see if I can tell a difference. This one still has gook. So this one right here, this middle one, still has gook around it. You know, I was trying to keep this area of the workbench clean, but this stuff showed up out of nowhere. But okay, so I just kind of want to try to actuate them a little bit because, you know, while I'm here and have them out, you know, I don't want to be doing this twice. So okay, let me tap it. There's a little fuel injector cleaner in there. Okay. Okay, let's see how this one does. Okay, and the last one. Okay, so they all activate. This one has gunk in it. Yeah, that middle one just has gunk in it. I don't want to get any cotton stuck down in there. Okay, I think I've done enough damage, and we'll see if it made a difference. I don't know what else to do. I mean, got carburetor cleaner clean throughout the whole fuel injector, so. Okay, we'll go ahead and start putting this together. And actually, I'll just make sure I... Okay, so I actually need to think about this. Oh, the connectors are on the back side of this. That does not look right. So actually I need to go and rewatch the video to see which way I pulled those things off. Although, actually I do have them pulled off right because of the blue mark. Oh, there we go. Okay, so you definitely want to be careful when you're putting these clips back in because you can have them not in all the way. Okay, cool. So now we gotta put it back into the jet ski. Oh. Okay, and before I tighten it down, I want to make sure I can get the connectors on. And okay, all three of them are in. Get the fuel rail on. There we go, it clicked. And then put both of these screws on and make sure none of the wires are compromised. Wiring's fine. Okay, just gonna put them tight, but not. Okay, that's good. Okay, that's good. We are all back together. Okay, so I waited a little bit I cleaned up all the gas that spilled, and then I waited a little bit to, make sure the fumes get evacuated. But I'm gonna start it up here in the shed just to turn it over to make sure it actually runs still, and to make sure we don't have any leaks on the fuel rail. And I have a feeling I'm gonna regret that, because I have a feeling as soon as I start it up, it's gonna spit water out all on my wooden floor, but we'll see how big of a concern that is anyway. I don't know if it pre-pressurizes the fuel rail or not, because you can't really hear the fuel pump. But I'm checking. I don't see any leaks so far. Okay, we'll start her up. And I was totally right about spinning spinning water all over the place. But before I clean that up, let me check to see if there was any leaks. That was good. That one's good. That one's good. No leaks there. Okay, no leaks. And this is what happens when you start it up in your shop. Okay, so only time will tell if this was successful or not. I'll probably wait and upload this till I actually test out the jet ski to see if it was successful. But like I said, I'm not an expert, but that's how you remove the fuel rail and put it back on. And I actually think that is a lot easier than trying to get to the fuel filter, just because of the way that the tank is located. But yeah, we'll just cut to a video of me testing it to see if it worked. If you have any suggestions on things that I should have done to the fuel injectors, if you think it's not a fuel injector problem, make sure you leave the comment below. Made the difference. SeaDoo stopped hesitating, so I would highly recommend, if you had the same problem, to go and do what I did, clean out the fuel injectors. It's easy to do, it doesn't cost you any money, and it totally got rid of all the problems. Thanks for watching.